The way Trump is dangling this pardon over Diddy's head like a carrot is almost ironic. And what makes it ironic is that they're the same kind of people. Two people who love power and control. And when someone does something that they dislike, they dangle their livelihood in front of their face. Trump keeps going back and forth about whether or not he wants to pardon Diddy. And the reason he's going back and forth is because he and Diddy used to be friends. And then the first time around when Trump was running for office, Diddy said some things about Trump that Trump didn't like. And now Trump is saying, well, we used to be friends, so I think about pardoning him, but then he said some not so great things about me, so maybe not. What Trump is trying to force Diddy to do is publicly apologize. And really, it's a lose-lose for Diddy, because even if Trump does pardon you, we're all still going to remember all the horrific things that you did, and we've seen it play out in the trial. And maybe it'll help you not be a criminal in terms of business, but at the same time, people are going to watch you publicly apologize to Trump. That's just going to make things worse for you. And on the other end, if he doesn't pardon you, you'll have a criminal record, but at least you wouldn't have gotten hoed by Donald Trump. You know what I'm saying? It's a lose-lose. But for me, I'm not about to be no Herb. I'm not publicly apologizing to nobody just so I can't do it.
A few people were saying I was this violent character, just because I was breaking people's jaws and arms. And look at me, I'm like, I'm just a passionate young man, and I made a mistake.
Well, everybody's going to get in trouble. It's a question of how do you get out of trouble. Mm-hmm. And I did it by working smart. More importantly than anything else is by using my own brain. I've done things, but I'm not in any trouble, and I'm doing well, and I'm making money.
Well, you're making the same mistakes that I am. You may just be able to hide yours a little bit better.
Perhaps, perhaps not. I don't know. I don't know. See, one of the problems with politics and politicians is that you really can't have done very much wrong, and that means you can't have done very much.
What happens when one of the most powerful names in music finds himself cornered by the justice system, and the only man who could help him walk free has no interest in saving him? For Sean Diddy Combs, that man is Donald J. Trump, business mogul, former current president, and someone Diddy once called a friend. Their history was public, their bond once undeniable, but politics, pride, and power have a way of turning allies into adversaries. Now, with the possibility of a 20-year prison sentence hanging over his head, Diddy's biggest Hail Mary has hit a brick wall.
And after nearly a 2-month trial with 34 witnesses and hours of salacious testimony, a jury of 8 men and 4 women finds Sean Diddy Combs not guilty of racketeering and sex trafficking, but guilty on 2 counts of transportation to engage in prostitution.
The breaking point came on July 2nd, 2025. After a trial that kept the nation's eyes glued to every update, the verdict was announced, guilty on 2 counts under the Mann Act. It's a law that's been on the books since 1910, originally aimed at cracking down on human trafficking, now a tool federal prosecutors use in cases involving prostitution and cross-state travel. For Diddy, each conviction carried a maximum of 10 years, 20 years total, a number that could turn his mansion-lined lifestyle into decades of concrete and steel. He escaped the heavier charges, sex trafficking and racketeering, but the damage was done. His brand was bruised, his business partners were nervous, the headlines were merciless. It wasn't just about a guilty verdict, it was about an empire teetering on collapse, and in moments like this, every move matters.
The thing that we're following this afternoon that many people are also following as well. This is, of course, a shot outside of that New York courtroom where we know that Sean P. Diddy Combs has officially been charged with sex trafficking and abuse charges. They are there in the courtroom right now deciding whether or not if he will receive bail in this case. The judge just returned from a very brief recess. In just a few minutes, we did just get this update in from AP. It says the judge is refusing to grant bail to Sean Diddy Combs, orders him sent back to jail where he will await sex trafficking trial. Very important that we just get this update in here live. Sean Diddy will not have bail in this case. Again, this was a major part of what his lawyers were arguing for.
Diddy's team went straight to the playbook. Get him out on bail. First attempt, $1 million. The court said no. Second attempt, an almost unheard of $50 million bail offer backed by his Miami waterfront mansion. Still, Judge Jesse Furman refused, calling him both a flight risk and a danger to the community. It didn't matter that Diddy had built a billion-dollar brand. It didn't matter that his name was known in every corner of the music world. In the judge's eyes, he wasn't safe to release. And that's when reality started setting in. If you can't even buy your way out of a holding cell, your legal safety net is smaller than you think. The pivot was calculated. Instead of fighting the convictions head-on, his lawyers proposed a redemption plan to sway the court toward leniency. Diddy would dedicate himself to anti-domestic violence advocacy, funding programs, creating campaigns, even counseling others. The pitch wasn't just about saving face, it was about framing Diddy as a man who could do more good outside prison than in it. For someone with his influence, the argument made sense. On paper. But in the court of public opinion, people were divided. Was this genuine accountability, or just another power move to avoid a prison sentence? And while the public debated, another plan was already taking shape, one that didn't depend on the judge at all.
Diddy's in federal custody, not house arrest, not hiding, jail. And now he's trying to get a pardon from Trump. And I'm not making that up. This man who once said that Trump was dangerous for the culture is now hoping that same man is going to rescue him. Let's talk about it. Back in July, Diddy was found guilty on 2 federal counts, crossing state lines to procure prostitution. The trafficking charges didn't stick, for whatever reason, right? The racketeering charge didn't stick either. But the Mann Act charges did. And the judge said that he's too much of a flight risk to be let out on bail. So now, he's still locked up in Brooklyn, waiting to be sentenced in October. And his legal team confirmed that they reached out to Trump for a pardon. And Trump already responded. He wasted no time. He said that Diddy made terrible statements about him during the 2020 election, called him very hostile. And now Trump says that makes granting a pardon more difficult. So it's not really about guilt or innocence, is it? It's not even about the law. It's about loyalty. Did you kiss the ring or not? Because let's not forget, Trump pardoned Wall Street criminals, war criminals, corrupt sheriffs with no hesitation. The insurrectionists, he let them go with no hesitation. No hesitation. But did he? Because he said something bad about him. He's got to think about it. That man does not need a pardon. He does not need a pardon. Oh my God. So now we're up here watching a billionaire who once tried to warn people about Trump beg that same man for mercy. Not because he's innocent, but because the power shifted. And Trump, he's over there thinking about it, like it's a favor that he might grant or not. This is what it looks like when accountability turns into chess. And once again, celebrity does not save you. Access does. Leave him where the hell he is.
To understand why Diddy's team reached out to Donald Trump, you need to know just how far back their connection goes. Long before Bad Boy became a household name, before making the band or Cyrock deals, Diddy was part of a new wave of hip-hop moguls breaking into mainstream celebrity culture. And in the 1990s and early 2000s, Donald Trump was already a staple of that same scene, high-profile, flashy, and constantly in the media. The two crossed paths at events, sat front row together at boxing matches, and traded compliments in interviews. In 2012, Trump even publicly called Diddy a good friend and someone he would always stick up for.
Working for Diddy for 6 years trained me to have to be perfect.
Working for Diddy?
Absolutely.
I love Diddy. You know, he's a good friend of mine. He's a good guy.
He expects.
Is he a good guy?
I don't want to answer that
Oh,
question.
wow. I think he's a good guy. I'm going to stick up there.
I am.
To outsiders, they moved in different worlds, music versus real estate and politics. But in the celebrity ecosystem, they were part of the same elite circle. So when Diddy's legal troubles exploded, it wasn't surprising that his team thought of Trump. The former president had granted controversial pardons before. Why not him? But times had changed. When Trump was asked about pardoning Diddy, his tone was cool, almost dismissive. Yes, they'd once been friendly. Yes, they'd gotten along well. But then came the turn. When I ran for office, he was very hostile. He said some not so nice things.
Be the one to ask, Peter, but nobody's asked. But I know people are thinking about it. I know they're thinking about it. I think some people have been very close to asking. First of all, I'd look at what's happening, and I haven't been watching it too closely, although it's certainly getting a lot of coverage. I haven't seen him. I haven't spoken to him in years. He used to really like me a lot, but I think when I ran for politics, he sort of, that relationship busted up from what I read. I don't know. He didn't tell me that, but I'd read some little bit nasty statements in the paper all of a sudden. You know, it's different. You become a much different person when you run for politics and you do what's right. I could do other things, and I'm sure he'd like me, and I'm sure other people would like me, but it wouldn't be as good for us.
It was a reference to the 2020 election, when Diddy openly said the #1 priority was getting Trump out of the White House.
If this man is elected, we're not standing by no more getting killed. We're not scared of anybody standing up and standing by. We're on the verge of a race war. White men like Trump need to be banished. That way of thinking is real dangerous. When you look at it, we don't have no choice. You know what I'm saying? You can say what you want about Biden. I can't say I love to pick either, but hey, we got to get him in office, and then we got to hold him accountable.
For Trump, that wasn't just a political disagreement. It was personal betrayal. He didn't close the door entirely, but he made it clear that it would be more difficult now. And in politics, more difficult often means never happening, which meant one thing for Diddy: he was running out of lifelines. October 3rd, 2025 is now the most important date in Diddy's life. The maximum sentence is 20 years, but legal guidelines suggest something closer to 27 months for a first-time offender. His lawyers are pushing for time served, banking on his public redemption pitch. Prosecutors could push for more, citing the nature of the crimes and the public attention surrounding the case. Without a pardon, the decision rests entirely with Judge Furman, and given his track record so far, denying bail at every turn, the outlook isn't exactly in Diddy's favor. This isn't the first time Diddy's name has been tied to controversy, but this is the first time the consequences could redefine his life. It's not about charts or hit singles anymore. It's about whether the man who built an empire from scratch will spend his next years building it further or watching it crumble from behind bars. And when that sentence is read in October, one chapter will close. The only question is, will it be the end of Diddy's freedom or the beginning of a long climb back to the top?